Hey guys, welcome. My name is Mike,
And I'm Aaron.
and this is episode 1 of Cryptenomics, with today's topic being privacy coins. In light of this being our first episode, you probably have no idea who we are. So once again, my name is Mike, and this is Aaron, and we have been friends for many years, since high school, working on different projects together. We are currently co-founders of a crypto company called Cryptenomics, where you can track your trades and analyze your portfolio. But even when we are not working together and we're just hanging out getting dinner, it's crypto all day we're talking about.
Yeah, we talk about crypto so much, we felt that it was worth sharing with the world.
Yeah, I mean, I've personally been involved with crypto for the past 4 years, and it has been every day for the past 4 years. So we thought it would be fun to share our conversations with everyone at home, everyone on the internet. Hopefully gather some insights, learn some interesting things, and enjoy hanging out with us. And we hope that with you engaging with us, we can learn from you as well. So, privacy coins, Bitcoin private hard fork. It's the hot topic right now. I have a lot of people asking, what are these privacy coins about? Why are they important? And what is so controversial about Bitcoin private? I guess from a less technical point of view and philosophical point of view, there's two main categories behind the concept of a privacy coin, and that's privacy and anonymity.
Yeah.
There was originally Bitcoin, which was, the first coin, currently still the king, and I hope always the king. I love my Bitcoin. But, people started to realize that, hey, it's not as anonymous as we thought. It's not as private as we thought, and there's ways to improve that.
Yeah, Bitcoin really provides pseudonymity. So your identity isn't inherently tied to a given Bitcoin transaction, but there's enough information available to reasonably tie you back to any given Bitcoin transaction. So while there's a good chance that when you transact on the Bitcoin blockchain, no one's going to figure out that transaction was you, it is not truly private.
Interesting. So to paint a picture in everyone's mind, there was first Bitcoin, which was this magical internet money meant to be anonymous and private, but people started to see that it's not quite as anonymous and private and start to make improvements. The first major improvement, there is Darkcoin, now Dashcoin, but let's start with talking about the zero coin protocol type of coins. First, there was Zcoin.
Yeah, originally Moneta, then it became Zcoin. That was the first implementation of the zero coin protocol.
The zero coin protocol, and that's a way to have zero knowledge proofs.
Yeah. So a zero knowledge proof is basically where you have information and you're proving it to another party without revealing what that information is and without them being able to reveal to anyone else that you in fact know that information.
It's interesting. So there's two examples that I know of that help me understand it. One is a crappy example that doesn't follow the full logic, but it helps. And then the other one is that famous cave example. I'm forgetting the name of it. So the softer side of it is basically, so the concept of a zero knowledge proof is, how do you prove to someone else that you know something without telling them anything about it? And then furthermore, the person that you're proving this to cannot prove to someone else that you know these things.
Yep, that's it.
So let's say we're doing a scavenger hunt, right? And I know that there's 2 eggs left. Now, this is the softer, kind of shittier example, but theoretically, in a magical way, there would be a way for me to prove to you, saying, hey, Aaron, you're in the scavenger hunt, but I can prove to you that I know there are 2 eggs left, and I know where those 2 eggs are without showing them to you. And then furthermore, you can't prove to someone else that I know where those 2 eggs are.
Yep. And this is not the greatest example because the solution is unrealistic.
Exactly.
There's not really going to be a good way to prove this information without revealing the information or without them being able to prove that you in fact know the information. So that's where this fails. The cave example, I can explain this a little bit better. So the idea is that there's this cave with an entrance on one side, and after the entrance, the cave diverges. There's 2 paths, and the paths meet eventually. So it's a loop. The only way to transverse the full loop is to know a secret phrase that will allow you through a door. So let's say I know the secret phrase, and I want to prove to Mike that I know the secret phrase without actually revealing to him that I know said phrase, and without him being able to go to our friends and say, hey, Aaron knows the phrase. So Mike could tell me, I want you to come out the left side of the path. I could go into the cave, and there's a chance that I would have already gone into the left side of the path. I can come out that same side. But under enough tries of this game where he tells me the side to come out, it would be infeasible for me to guess the correct side in advance that many times. So that's the concept of a zero knowledge proof.
Right. So to reiterate that, just so I'm understanding it properly as well, to summarize, there's a cave that is a circle. There's no middle. It's just a circle of a cave, and I go in the right side, and then you tell me come out the left side. And if I come out the left side, that means that I was able to go to the top of the circle. There's a little door.
I tell you before you go in the cave, I want you to come out the left side. So that way...
So I go in the right side.
Right.
Then I get to the door, and I know the secret password. I get past the door, and I easily come out the left side. And I don't tell you the password of the door. I don't tell you the size of the door, anything about the door, anything about the password. But that is a zero knowledge way for me to just prove it to you. And you can see it. Once we leave that cave area, you can't tell our friend.
There's no way for me to go and prove to someone else that you actually do know the password, because that was only proven to myself.
So it's interesting. Taking that concept, the Moneta Zcoin team creating the Zero Coin protocol took that concept and applied it at a more technical level.
So basically you can be holding, this financial quantity, and it can only be proven that you actually have it by yourself, and no one else can prove that you have this money.
Right. So it's very anonymous, very private. So to back up a second to how we got to Bitcoin private, starting at the way beginning, there was Bitcoin, the king. Then there was a zero coin implementation on the Zcoin coin. Then there was another iteration on top of the zero coin protocol called the zero cash protocol.
Yep.
And that is the beginning of a bunch of forks. So the first one is Zcash.
Yeah. So just to step back for a second, the advantage of this zero cash protocol, what this adds over the zero coin protocol, is ZK snarks, and that's like the hot buzzwordy name that the Bitcoin private people are throwing around. Basically, that is an iteration on how the zero coin proofs are done. So the proof to generate the private coin is much faster. It requires this local database, which is sizable, which is a drawback, and then also the proof to spend the private coin is a bit slower than the traditional zero coin protocol. But it is widely regarded as an improvement over the traditional zero coin protocol, and this is supported by Vitalik Buterin, the great leader.
Wow. Okay. So yeah, there was Zcash. Then, what was after Zcash? There was a hard fork of Z Classic. We have it written out right here.
Yep.
So there was originally Zcoin, then Zcash, hard fork of Zcash. Now we're at Z Classic, and this is where Rhett Crichton comes in, who's also the creator of Bitcoin Private.
Yeah. Now the Z Classic hard fork happened around a week after Zcash came out. So they're almost the same age. They've been around for just about the same amount of time. And the big difference there was that Z Classic eliminated the 20% founders fee, the pre-mine.
Yeah. Which, I'll get into my opinions of Rhett Crichton a little later, but actually, I like the idea of getting rid of the pre-mine. I think it's nice. I hate when I see coins with a massive pre-mine. I don't mind a small pre-mine or a small sort of fee structure going to them if there is a dedicated team behind it that I know that my investment is safe with. But otherwise, yeah, it was definitely an opportunistic move. But it got a lot of traction. Z Classic was a big coin. I believe it broke the $200 range in terms of price action at one point. Until a few days ago with Bitcoin Private when it dumped like 60%. Pretty epic dump there.
That was not a good day to be a Z Classic.
No. So here, let's keep moving here in the progression of privacy coins. Bitcoin, Zcoin, then there's Zcash on the Zero Cash protocol to Z Classic, getting rid of the pre-mine. But at a technical level, they are the same thing. If I send a coin on the Zcash chain and a coin on the Z Classic chain, from a technical point of view, in terms of anonymity and privacy, they are the same thing. Zcash, which
There's a big change here, guys. There's something groundbreaking here. They encrypt a string along with the transaction.
right. So what that means is they've really added a messaging protocol within their system, so you can also say, "Hey, here's the money for that beer," and no one will ever know that you were nice enough to give me that beer. Now we can move on to Bitcoin Private, which is has Rec Crichton behind it and his team, and they actually forked off of Z Classic in addition to Bitcoin.
Yep, that's correct. So I don't fully understand. I'm technical. I don't fully understand
Yeah,
how
he's the more technical one.
How that merge happens how they merge those blockchains. But what I do understand is that there are UTXOs, unspent transaction outputs, which at the point of the snapshot where the fork happens, they are merging those outputs. So the Bitcoin, if you're holding Bitcoin, if you're holding Z Classic, everyone gets Bitcoin Private.
Right, and Bitcoin Private's branding and marketing that they're saying is that they are forking from Bitcoin because there's a lot of things they like about the Bitcoin protocol, but they're going to be making the block sizes a little larger. And in addition, they're going to be including the privacy of ZK snarks from Z Classic.
So I think it's a very effective marketing strategy, but I don't think there's really any merit in Bitcoin Private bearing the Bitcoin name. I think that it's truly a Z Classic hard fork. It's a Zcash fork. It's in that lineage, and calling it Bitcoin Private is really more of a brand heist than anything else.
Right, and also honestly, it makes me lose a little faith in our friend Rec Crichton because, look, I like him. I think he's a talented developer. I've seen him in interviews. He's probably a great team builder, but as far as I'm concerned, software is malleable. You can always change code. You could update code. And if someone disagrees with you and there's a community that disagrees with you, they can create a hard fork and start mining at that chain. So if I invested in Z Classic right now, I would have no faith to invest in Bitcoin Private from my point of view, from an investor's point of view. Because how do I know now that if Bitcoin Private sees some way to make itself better, it's not going to update itself. It's going to do a hard fork and dump. I mean, I need to know that my investment is safe with someone. And as far as I'm concerned, the team behind Z Classic totally didn't care about the economy that they created. Did a hard fork, expecting it to dump, creates Bitcoin Private. So I just, I'd have to give it some time before I really can gain more faith in it and that there's much merit behind the team. Just my opinion.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't need any time. I don't put any faith in it.
Yeah. So where are we right now? So we start with Bitcoin. Then there was Zcoin introducing this concept of the zero knowledge proofs. Then there was ZK Snarks, which has that same logic of the zero knowledge proofs, just has some improvements in terms of speed, perhaps. And then there was a fork from Zcash to Z Classic, fork from Z Classic to Zcash, fork from Z Classic to Bitcoin Private. But there are other privacy coins that are not related to Zero Coin Protocol explicitly and go through other attempts of being private and anonymous. And I guess that really leaves us, in my opinion, with the other two major coins, which is Dash, formerly Darkcoin, and the Monero.
Before it was Darkcoin, it was Xcoin.
Before it was Darkcoin, it was Xcoin, yep. Yeah, they rebranded pretty quickly. They've had an interesting progression. But yeah, I don't know. What do you like, Dash or Monero, or what's just before we even dive into it? Like, do you have a preference of ways of privacy?
So we're getting a little ahead of ourselves, but when it comes to Dash, I think I prefer the fork Pivx. I'm pretty big on Pivx. I think.
Yeah,
I know you're
Pivx,
a fan as well. So I can't say I'm too big on Dash. I do like Monero. I think that Monero's been around for a long time. I think they're one of the original serious privacy coins. And I think we'll get to it in a minute, but the way that they approach privacy, I think, is pretty robust.
Interesting. So let's dig into Monero a little bit. Monero, XMR, is I consider it an OG coin.
Yeah, they've been around since 2014, so I would say that's OG.
It's fairly OG. And they have a huge backing. I mean, if you look on exchanges like Poloniex or many other big exchanges, XMR does have its own market.
Correct me if I'm wrong here, but I believe XMR is truly the preference of the current dark web.
It is, yep. It's used all over, I'm sure, Tor and buying a bunch of fun things that you can buy on there.
So in this given state of the world, I think that speaks to its usability.
Yeah. So Monero uses what are they beyond? They don't have the zero coin protocol. They are
So
the
Monero
ring
uses
signatures.
ring signatures, exactly. Yeah. So basically, they have it's a signature that's signed by yourself and several other random parties. So the security is provided because there's no way it's computationally infeasible to prove who actually signed a given transaction, because you have this ring signature which includes the signatures of several wallets or individuals. So it could actually be any of those parties who signed the ring, and there's no way for you to see who sent this particular transaction.
Interesting. And then they also have an added protection to stop the double spending there, because you have to know which transactions have happened in the past at least.
Right, so each transaction has an image, and I'm not 100% on the details here, but that prevents the double spend.
Right, because you can know in history, has this transaction ever happened before? If it hasn't happened, then it has this unique sort of public, key image or whatever.
Exactly.
Then you know that this is a valid transaction. So
do you want to explain briefly what that double spend is, what that issue is?
Yes. So double spending is basically the concept of sending the same coin or doing the same transaction twice.
Yeah.
And when you're in a very private environment with all of this encryption and anonymity, it's something you have to think about by saying, okay, we want to be as private as possible, but we still have to know if a transaction is valid. And I guess by scanning previous transactions and seeing them hashed in a block somewhere, you could do it quickly and know if a transaction is valid.
Yep.
So that's Monero. I love Monero. I wish I had more of Monero, but I wish I had more of a lot of things. So
Very
that's
true.
okay.
Very true.
Okay, so let's move on to Dash now. So there's the zero coins, there's Monero, and then there's Dash's logic. Dash, as far as I remember, pretty much just takes advantage of a very robust mixing service. They have PrivateSend, which is a way for them to tumble transactions together and then send them so that people get the proper quantity that they want, but it's very hard to trace back from the sender.
Yeah, so Dash, their mixing functionality stems from CoinJoin. I believe that's what it's called. And that was the original idea of mixing cryptocurrencies to provide some security, some anonymity and privacy. So it's an implementation of that, and it's called PrivateSend. Basically, there are Dash masternodes which go through rounds of mixing your transactions and your coins with other transactions of similar denominations. Basically, at the end of that, there's no real way to prove who or where or what coins were spent on or sent to or from.
Gotcha. Okay. And I like Dash, but as you said now, I honestly like Pivx just as much.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Pivx. I like the proof of stake.
Pivx was a fork of Dash.
Pivx was a fork of Dash, and they're the first proof of stake coin to implement the zero coin protocol. So that is the OG zero coin protocol. Just to clarify that.
Not Zcash with ZK Snarks.
Correct.
Got it. Yeah, Pivx has been also impressive to watch. They have quite the community going behind them.
Pivx has one of the most impressive marketing operations in crypto. It's admirable. I would like to see more cryptocurrencies and communities try that hard to get new members, bring people on, and encourage adoption.
It's okay to be a little shameless. That marketing guy they hired, Snappy, Brian Dorian, I think.
He's good though.
He's a natural at it, and he is very snappy. He definitely captures your attention on camera. And
Brian,
I think
if you're out there, we'd love to have you.
And I think that he really just sometimes it's good to be shameless and not be overly technical. When I go on some of these websites, I've been involved for crypto for a while, so I like reading about what they're technically changing. But in terms of mass adoption, when you have a website, talk about why it's better for the user. The fees are less. You could say it's more private. That's okay. People care about that. the transactions are fast, and it's global. You don't have to say it's the next gen blockchain technology with, improved like ring signature technology, blah blah blah. I just think that it gets people in the community involved and invested, but it's not getting grandma and grandpa who are buying Bitcoin and Coinbase invested in those coins.
Yeah, that's definitely true.
Yeah. So, I guess in summary, that is the progression of the privacy coin world, right? It starts with Bitcoin. People say, not private enough for me. Zero coin protocol. Then there's the Zero Cash protocol, which forked into Z Classic and Zcash. Then Bitcoin Private. And then there's Dash Monero, and I guess you can make your own decisions on those. But real quick to back up, about these privacy coins, I've had a lot of people speak to me and say, why do you care about privacy? A lot of people think that you only care about privacy because you're trying to do illegal things on the dark net and avoid getting in trouble.
Well, I would like to retain my right to do illegal things on the dark net if I so choose.
That's true, but even on a bigger picture, though, what I'm getting at is that it's not all about doing illegal transactions. It is about the fundamental right of privacy that is being taken away from us, and we are getting desensitized to it.
Yeah, I mean, nobody knows how much cash you have under your mattress at home, Mike.
It's true. And it would be a sad number if I told them. But the big picture I'm getting at here is that if blockchain takes hold in existing infrastructure in a global manner, right? So there's going to be ways to store your identity, like what Civic is working on. And then there's plenty of ICOs working on ways for healthcare patients to keep their own medical history private, and they could choose to share that with whoever they want and then get rewarded in it. This concept of getting rewarded and being able to share things at will goes far beyond just the monetary use case of these coins. You do need this technology for other use cases as well, for being private at a technical level. And that's why I think that it's really important for people to work on the privacy aspect. I think that the monetary use case is a very blatant, obvious use case. But as the blockchain technology and this global technology outside of countries as a whole world starts getting connected, and there's an actual infrastructure of ways to share your information and get rewarded with it. Well, if the reward is not private, or the money side of it is not private, it kind of takes away from the whole, concept of what we're striving for.
Yeah, I definitely agree.
That was a big picture, but that's why I find it to be really important. And also the anonymity side. It's important to look at both of those, because you can have things that you can have, protocols which are publicly anonymous but not very private, and you can have protocols which are extremely private, but if you can get through that privacy barrier, maybe it's not that anonymous. I don't know how they're showing information. Yeah, I mean, that's about all I think I had to talk about today. I don't know if there's anything else you want to bring up.
I don't know. I think that was it for me as well.
Yeah. Well, guys, this was the first episode of Cryptenomics. We hope that you learned something about the progression of privacy coins and the different, mentality and mindset behind it, and how these zero knowledge proofs work, and how Dash works and Monero works. And if you have any questions, feel free to drop us comments. If there's other topics you want us to speak about, let us know. And we'll catch you soon.
Thanks very much.